As Fund 17 is nothing more than a holding place for funds, why is the district proposing to stash $250,000 there for the 2014-2015 school year? Ironically, the exact same amount as will be saved with 5 furlough days.
Chris Wheeler?
Hi, Chris Wheeler, 20 years in the district. It's pretty much the same as hers. If the district is in such financial crisis, why haven't the administrators already agreed to take the same furlough days or the same percentage of work days as the teachers are being asked to do? If administrators are the leaders of the district, why don't they step up and take the lead in assisting with the financial crisis that we have in this district? Thank you.
Courtney Straka?
Why is the district considering class size reduction at a cost of $120,000, almost 2.5 furlough days, when the LCFF requirement for class size reduction can be met with bargained language?
I have no more cards. We'll move to 8.0 correspondence. 8.1, Mr. Jorgensen.
I've got several concerns on behalf of the Acton-Aguadulce Teachers Association, so I'm going to read it so I don't forget it. I want to thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening, the governing board, district administrators, my esteemed colleagues in attendance, and parents. Tim Jorgensen, I'm the president of the Acton-Aguadulce Teachers Association. We have several concerns about the direction of the district is headed in, whose sole purpose is to provide the best educational opportunities for the children of Acton-Aguadulce. Under your direction, our governing board, the district administration, it appears that our primary purpose is to provide resources to another entity. In our case, the numerous independent charter schools that seem to have found safe haven in our district. Our district is becoming a proving ground for charter schools in that we provide facilities, students, and quite possibly teachers. The lines between our district and independent charters are being breached by the recent and pending actions that are contributing to and not resolving the many challenges our district faces. While we choose not to negotiate in public, it is common knowledge that the Acton-Aguadulce Teachers Association and the district are at impasse in negotiations. Those who wish to simplify the situation say the impasse is over teachers' refusal to accept the elimination of 5 instructional days referred to as furlough days. In reality, the impasse goes much deeper. We, the teachers of the Acton-Aguadulce Unified School District, are at impasse with how we are choosing to educate the children of our community. We are at impasse with the students being removed from highly qualified teachers' classrooms and placed in front of a computer screen for online learning. We're at impasse with the open door policy to any and all charters who want to hang a shingle in our district. We are at impasse with the policy of hiring administrators where experience is not a requirement. We are at impasse with our district leaders spending numerous days outside of the boundaries of our district instead of being in the office working to resolve our district's issues. We are at impasse with the district policy that is in conflict with attracting and retaining students to our exceptional comprehensive schools. And we are at impasse with being the target of the problems of the district when our attempts to consult on operations do not exist or fall on deaf ears. The members of the Acton-Aguadulce Teachers Association have a long and proud tradition of putting the needs of our students first. That desire has never wavered and is as strong as ever. If we honestly believe taking away 5 instructional days, referred to as furlough days, would solve the district's challenges, there would be no impasse. We stand here ready to work hand in hand with the governing board and the district administration to continue to improve the educational opportunities of our students and to collaboratively create solutions to problems that face our district. We have an amazing amount of collective talents in our ranks and the district. We ask that you take advantage of this unique resource and work with us to enhance the effectiveness of our district. Thank you for your time.
CSA representative? Seeing none, we'll go 3, student rep, Alex.
So to start off, progress reports were handed out last week. Spring sports are beginning and so far have done well. The swim team had their first league meet on Wednesday at the McAdam Pool, and the boys team had a very successful turnout. This past Wednesday, Ryan Distasso and myself attended the feature leader ceremony held by AV Press. This is where more than 280 students are nominated and only 85 were selected. The CASC testing will be taking place on March 18th and 19th, and the teachers these past couple of weeks have been attending the Common Core. A new station tomorrow will be taping The Herd at VHS, and tomorrow as well, the Medal of Honor students will be having a video conference with the Medal of Honor recipient Sal Gupta at High Desert. The performing arts raised money going to American Idol yesterday, which will benefit the grant program.
Very good. 8.4, review of second interim.
As we discussed during the budget study session, our interim report reflects the fact that our certification with the county at this time is negative. We are projecting a very minimal fund balance for this year, and unfortunately, there are a number of reductions that are included in the second interim report in order to get the district to move forward into meeting a positive fund balance and maintaining a 3% reserve for next year.
Are we going to seek to extend the report as we had talked about with LACO
Oh, yes.
until our collective bargaining process works its way through?
That's something that we had talked about, is getting that extension from LA County and giving us a little bit more time to try to figure out.
That is what we're doing at this time, is working with the county to try to make sure that we're able to take a look at our fund balances and basically get through the end of the fiscal year.
Before they approve and certify it, they're going to give us some additional time to try and help manage some of those issues.
Okay.
Thank you.
Steve, thank you. 8.5, VHS construction.
Okay. As you know, yeah, go ahead and give that. I'll give that if you can pass that. I appreciate it. I have a bigger version here if you guys want to take a look at it. Later, I'll leave it up there. What I'm passing around many conversations as we kicked off the new construction project up at Vasquez High School. There were many comments and conversation about the facade on the front of the school, if you will. Just really fell short in terms of expectations. They felt like, it was kind of too flat and it really didn't enhance the front of the building, if you will. And so I went and I took a look at quite a few different other schools, and not even schools in this case. There were several different buildings that JTS had done, and worked with JTS to come up with some sort of facade on the front. What you see here, what you're looking at now, is more similar to what we originally had and what the architectural design was, but it does not include the extensive clock, solely because this is even new construction methodology as it relates to the modular unit. This is a new unit, and meaning they just built this, and that's why I went and had to kind of see it. What you're seeing there is metal siding on the front of the building and around the side of the building, and then obviously a raised roof and a raised front. Very, very similar to what we had last time. Now, that comes at a cost. Okay, the guaranteed maximum price did not include this particular element. Again, I heard from several board members and several parents and different folks that honestly wished that we had kept that. We did cut that, obviously, in some cost-saving measures, but let me tell you that, and you'll look at some of the contracts that we have on the agenda tonight. As a result of, honestly, just going back to the table negotiating some additional dollars out of our proposed budget, we believe we're going to be able to fund this if in fact you like it. If you don't like it, you say, no, wait, go back to the table, that's fine. But just know that this particular element, for engineering and actual development and extensive footings and et cetera, all of the things that are associated with it, would be not to exceed $120,000 for this particular design element out of bond proceeds. Now, that would not, we do not anticipate that it would impact any FF&E or furniture, fixtures, and equipment that would address the rooms. What it would be coming out of is our other, either number one, out of the 3% reserve, which we already have in terms of contingency fee. As we've demonstrated before, JTS has yet to utilize even $1 of that. However, we need to keep it in place and, excuse me, and make sure that who knows what we'll uncover when we start grading, is my concern. So even if that's the case, we, again, even with these 4 contracts that I have on the agenda tonight, they've been quite a bit less. We originally, say for example, and I can't remember some of the exact numbers, but even if you talk about the service contract with McKenna, which is an archaeological monitoring service that's required by the state, there was some savings there. There's some savings with the DSA inspector, which in fact ended up, I'm going to say, in the neighborhood of $15,000. And then the big one was the Earth Systems. There, you're going to get glasses, something's too small. 11.5 is the Earth Systems contract. Originally that was $120,000, which was budgeted, and now it's $78,000. So that number is obviously much less. So you add up a lot of those, and we feel like we're very close to that. And when they said not to exceed 120, they're saying that we think we can get that lowered as well, meaning we can reduce the cost of that through some other measures. But with engineering and everything, we would think that it would not cost more than that. Now, the question becomes, what we had talked about originally, can you retrofit it? Can you go back after the fact and utilize the $14 million in terms of state match that we get from the state? And that's complicated because of, in this particular design, and if you put anything that's a structure that's elevated, the footings change, the engineering change, everything changes, and it needs to be engineered now. It needs to be done now. It needs to go through DSA now. And the good thing about it is we haven't completely finished through DSA because they're now redoing the engineering. We could engineer this in now and do a material change in terms of the actual guaranteed maximum price. If we do that, which I suggest, we actually save DSA fees in terms of change orders. We don't want to do it in a change order. We want to do it as a material revision to the actual plans, add it now, send it through DSA, and it's still the same price. So, obviously I'm looking for comments and direction in terms of, do you like this, do you not like this? You saw the other, it's pretty bland. I agree, I acknowledge that. Hopefully this spruces it up a little bit. Comments?
I think it's great, Dr. Woodard, if we can afford to do it, and if it's going to come from the construction fund.
Oh, it's all out of the bond
I
proceeds.
think you
Yes.
said that JTS has not used any of the reserve in the past.
Right.
So they're not likely to use it on this project.
It would be an anomaly, but it's possible. I hate to say impossible.
That's what it's there for.
Yes, that's what's
So I think it's great if we can do it. Sir?
You can't underestimate the aesthetic value of a public building. And with everything that I've ever been taught about it, and believe it or not, my employer sent me to school to learn stuff like this. They want to give me a paid vacation to go to school to learn stuff like this, okay? But it's one of the first things they tell you is to have a defined entrance, especially when it comes to a public building, and to have the entrance of that building stand out, both blend in and yet stand out from its surroundings. And I think by adding this height, you're adding a dimension to the school, and you're giving more of a wow factor when you walk in, and I think it's highly important if we could do it, because we're not building a full school.
Right.
And so we're already robbing the community of being able to look at everything and go, wow, with a sports facility, a gym, an NPR, whatever you want to call it. And so I think it's important, if we can afford it, that we do it. So the question I would have is there any reason why we couldn't engineer it, pour the footings, engineer the stem walls and everything that's going to support this, get it approved by DSA, and then if we had to, build it later. So there would be cost associated with going through the engineering and the pouring the footings, which is going to be a portion of that 120 without actually spending the full 120 if it came to that.
Well, we can definitely do that, for sure.
So really, it just gets down to engineering it, pouring the footings, and just like we master plan the school.
And remember, by the time we get to that phase, we will already know whether or not we're going to use the contingent fee.
Right.
We've done the grading, we've completed the surface, we've,
And
got
then,
the building.
and if we can move forward, we
We
move
move
forward.
forward, they move forward.
And if we can't, at least it's engineered for future construction.
Okay.
How much of the 120 is immediately offset by the other contracts, and how much of the 120 is a reduction in the contingency fund amount?
Well, it would be
At this
3%.
point in time?
I'm sorry?
At this point in time, there's 120 we're trying to cover, and you gave me some examples of areas where we're coming in under.
And I even wrote to you in that email.
Yeah, I didn't get that far.
Okay.
There's 387 under reserve. 3% reserve.
Maybe, I'm going to take a conservative estimate, 40,000.
Is from the reserves?
No, it's from these contracts.
40,000 from the contract?
No, we actually
80,000.
saved 40,000 in just the one from Earth Systems. So it would be probably more like 60, but yeah, Mark's pretty close. We got about half of that.
So it brings that reserve down to 3%.
No, actually, not,
it's just a
because remember, we
contingency in
budgeted
case
for
there's
those
funds.
items, so the budget, and we were able to save money from renegotiating those contracts, was about $60,000. So we're already halfway there.
I got it. Half of it's from, at this point, half of it's from the reserve, half of it's from already realized savings.
From budgeted savings that we already renegotiated, correct?
Thank you.
Matt, questions, concerns? You okay?
No, I mean, we talked about it last time. It makes a material difference.
Okay. Larry?
It's not going to delay the dates, is it?
Not at all, if we do it now. If you do it later, yes. We got to do it now. We're going to do, because we're getting ready to go at DSA, we're in the process of engineering it. I got to turn them loose on engineering, got to re-engineer the thing. Okay. Sounds unanimous, consensus.
I think there's consensus to move forward in that phased approach.
Okay, absolutely. And then at what point they'll bring it back and tell you whether or not we're going to be able to do the full facade.
Was the Mustang logo there?
No, that's the incorrect, that's the Bronco one. That's the, that's JTS, but it's Bronco. Well, that's wrong, but they'll have some sort of
Something.
there. That should be a Mustang, not a Bronco.
Fair enough. Okay. Fair enough. Okay, 8.6, superintendent report.
Okay, there's a couple things that I wanted to talk about. One is which we've had multiple discussions as it relates to the language lab. And the language lab and the online learning environment, and what we're doing with that and what we're not doing with that. I wanted to, I've been working with, there's two gentlemen in the back from Middlebury College, and they've given quite a bit of information and research reports which are provided to the board, and had to take a look at that. We're going to be able to make those public, and Tidevo will put those together. I think they're significant, they're substantial, and I think they've done an incredible job as it relates to language development and language instruction. In addition to that, there's some folks from the California e-learning census, and they've been taking surveys over the past quite some time. And it talks about, we participated in this service, but they surveyed quite a few districts across the entire state of California. I just want to kind of read to you. It says, as of March 10th, 415 districts and charters have completed the California e-learning census, and current data indicates a significant shift towards online learning in California. That means, obviously, it's becoming the industry standard that there's some portion of a student's day is in some sort of online environment, whether it be in a classroom, in a extended program, etc. Currently, 52% of all districts and direct funded charters have students involved in online or blended learning. The median population, which grew 25% last year, are up 100% for blended learning and 40% for full-time online learning. So this data, basically, I really appreciate it. There's a summary report, and that's just an excerpt, if you will, out of this. And we really feel like, you know, with 21st century skills coming, as well as the Common Core, this is a significant advancement. The Aventa program, as well as our relationship and affiliation with Middlebury College. However, that being said, took a long look and listened to a variety of different folks, and we took a look at it in terms of how to take a look at the implementation. And I recently wrote each of the board, and I wanted to just kind of lay it out for the public, is that after much thinking, I decided and take a look at a phased approach instead of full implementation year one. Meaning a phased approach would be, as we go through the registration process, that certain kids will have an opportunity to take either a traditional model, a traditional approach in terms of a teacher and a regular classroom instruction. And if in fact we have quite a few kids that are interested in online learning or additional languages other than Spanish, they'll also have that opportunity in the language lab. So it'll be more of a blended, phased approach instead of full implementation. Now, if there's a demand, we'll meet the demand either way. The demand is, well, it's only one section or two or three or four or whatever, however many kids decide they really want Mandarin or American Sign or whatever those languages are, we will meet the demand. Ultimately, it comes down to the students drive the master schedule. Student demand and the student need is what's going to decide on how that works. I think what kind of swayed me, honestly, was there was a couple emails from students and from staff, and heard their voice, heard Mike, parents, different folks, and we thought about, you know, quite a different things, and ultimately I decided, you know, a phased approach and organizational readiness just isn't quite there. Needed to kind of maybe take a step back, but not in such a way that we still wanted to afford those students the option and the opportunity to take an online learning opportunity if they so chose. So that's the current plan. We're going to be talking about, you know, and making sure that parents are adequately informed. They clearly know what they're getting into, what they're not getting into, what they want, so they can make their own decision, and then as we go through registration, they can have the choice. So it's almost like we have the best of both worlds, if you will. We'll have a kind of a hybrid model, and folks will get their choice. So I did give you some additional information. Again, even though, you know, that would be my first choice, I fully believe in online learning, and I think it can be a phenomenal opportunity for kids, including additional languages is what I like. And we've heard from Mr. Porter and French, and, you know, quite a few folks, they wanted Chinese and American Sign, and all of those things, I think we'll be able to offer that now. So with that, I just wanted to make sure you guys knew we decided to kind of take a phased approach.
Dr. Woodard, do we need to make an amendment to the 10.1 from last board meeting where we passed the event?
No, not as of right now.
So,
if we do, we will be talking with them, and we'll be taking a look at seats, and we'll look at, there may be some considerations there, Mr. Porter, but if in fact that's the case, then we'll bring back an amendment. But I think right now they've been so flexible and they've worked with us, they'll adjust our seat count based on, it's hard, I wouldn't want to do it right now, I want to wait till I get through registration and go through that process and then determine what type of designers out
well,
there.
you know, it's very clear to the parents that we're offering the traditional, we're offering Spanish in the traditional way, and we're offering those other classes online.
Right. Well, and even though it's online, it's still, It's not all online. Keep
Yeah,
in mind,
there's
there's,
supervision.
yeah, there's small group instruction, there's pull-out, there's kitchen table instruction, there's an opportunity there for individualized instruction as well, even though it's online.
And we'll have a native, we'll have a fluent French speaking teacher that can help with French also.
Yes, that's what I understand on the other end, yeah. That's all I have, Mr. President.
8.7, board comments. Mike?
Thank you very much.
Matt, nothing here.
People happy.
I don't have any other comments except to respond to the superintendent. Sometimes when you listen to comments, they would suggest that the board's asleep and the board doesn't care. Doesn't care about teachers, doesn't care about parents, doesn't care about students. You know, but I think what you are doing and the discussions that have been had behind the scenes in regard to how we're going to handle these course offerings in language demonstrate that we are awake, that we do listen, that we do take input from teachers and parents and students, that we govern ourselves. And I think your amended approach helps to suit it. Is it going to please everybody? No. But the board always has the difficult, whatever you want to call it, the curse of trying to balance the needs of the community, the needs of the employees, the needs of students, and there are still parents out there who want something more than what they have. And we continue to lose students at the high school as a result of that. So this is an opportunity to maintain the standard instructional model, while at the same time moving into that industry standard, as you said, of providing other methodology for learning. And it does, I think it represents a balance between everybody's needs and desires. And it's not just a flat approach. And hopefully everyone, including the folks in this room, will have some understanding of the fact that we saw that it needed to be amended, and you did what you needed to do as the superintendent to make that adjustment. So I applaud you for doing that. Ed?
Yeah, I certainly agree with you. I think what we did in this case demonstrates that, and I appreciate some of the concerns that Mr. Fox brought up in regard to this. And I do want to say, I mean, between all of us here, there's probably maybe 10 kids in the district, and you had your grandkids here until recently, so we have our own children in the district, and we would never be in a position where we don't care about the kids. I think we actually look at most things that we do on how will they affect not only our kids, but all kids. So there's not a separation between how our own children will be affected and how the rest of the children will be. So I got the letters also, I got emails, and one thing I wanted to point out about the letters was that when you're writing a board member, you have an advocate that's on your side and wants to help you. That's why I took the time to send a very lengthy and detailed response to everyone. But I think if you were to deal as students, which is understandable, they can be very ideological and passionate, but as students, down the line, as you get into college and you're writing similar letters, which is basically a letter of complaint, it helps not to be kind of take an accusatory approach and trying to put things into politics and insinuate maybe what the motives of such decisions are. What will be the best for you is if you just make your case, and I think you have a very strong case without all of that. So that's just a little piece of advice I want to give you. You'll be far more effective. And because someone like us is not going to take offense. But out in the world, people do that. And I think it's just best to make your point and not to insinuate anything else, because usually there is no politics and things like that involved, especially in a situation like that. As for the rest of my comments, I just wanted to touch back on what I brought up last time at the last board meeting. We're trying to get the original Agua Dulce well from the 1920s. Trying to do that, and made some more progress on that. And the person donating it would like it to be possibly somehow incorporated into the VHS construction. So I don't know where we could put it. I mean, I'm sure we can do something with it, right? And they'd like to repatriate back with the district.
I'm sorry, when do you think you'll have that? So I can, obviously we're in the planning stage now, it'd be awesome.
The only reason we don't have it like 2 days is because the family is in Utah. So next time they come out, I'm trying to determine that with them.
Maybe if I can get a picture of dimensions.
Yeah, the dimensions are, it's pretty big. It's 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet, basically. So, and then when we can do a nice ceremony and, accepting it and some kind of appreciation plaque or something. The developer fees, I was saying, Mark, last time you stepped out momentarily, I'm trying to get some information on that from the Association of Realtors, so I'm still working on that. And then last night at the Agua Dulce Town Council meeting, I asked our president, Don Henry, to help possibly expedite that whole sound wall thing by VHS. It would be nice once we get our school built that the sound wall is there too. So with Caltrans, right,
That's what we went through.
I talked to him afterwards. I sent him the documents that you sent me.
Okay.
And also, we're going to talk to Rosalind and see what we can do about that, maybe get the ball rolling.
Awesome.
That's the thing.
If you could, Mr. Porter, again, the extension needs to be there too.
I explained it,
Okay.
to go to the entire campus.
Awesome, thank you.
Mr. Layton?
No comments.
Consent agenda 9.0. We have the minutes of the regular board meeting from February 27th, minutes of the special meeting. 9.2, change order field authority to Dr. Brent Woodard, Superintendent, New Vasquez High School construction project. Do we have a move?
So moved.
Matt moved. Would we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so if I can, I'll give you a little description of what I'm asking for. The only one that can approve change orders is the board. Bond Oversight Committee can't approve them. I can't approve them. Only you can approve them. What I'm asking to do is, as this project gets off the ground, and in essence, I become the construction manager, I need to be in the field almost every day, depending upon the activity that's going to be happening at the school site. And so there are times and there are things that come up that obviously the timing mechanism, if I have to stop the project and wait until I bring it back to the board, could be excessive time, and I will not meet the basic timeline and the assumption that we'll be delivering the project back to the students and the staff and be able to move in at the timeline. Meaning, let's say for example, if I come up with something and there's some sort of change or whatever that may be, we don't anticipate any, but there's also specific things that have with material revisions. And they have equal or opposite, and so there's several things that will be coming back to you for authority, but with the inspector of record and myself, we'll be in the field and evaluating those, along with the architect. And we need to have field authorization to make those decisions immediately. As we meet as a team, we'll be able to make those and then obviously come back to you and let you know about that, and then you approve those. For instance, otherwise, literally, when we get started, you may need to have a board meeting almost daily. If in fact you don't want to give this, and I'm just trying to paint a picture in terms of time, I can't do it in 18 months or 16 months unless I have authorization and react immediately, then bring back those change orders to the board.
And bring back those changes.
Yeah, they'll all come back to you anyway. I just need field authority to be in the field, take a look, develop it with the architect, look at our IOR if in fact you choose to hire our IOR that I'm recommending. And then we'll make a decision in the field whether or not it's equal or that the change order is appropriate under our provision.
If you make the decision in the field and you bring after the fact to the board.
That's correct. Refund. It's ratified, in essence.
Well, I think, and if something happens that we're not okay with, that can set a precedence, you know.
Absolutely.
So that, it's not refunded completely.
Well,
What size is the author?
Maybe I was going to ask, there's no cap.
Yeah, is there
there isn't a cap on it now, but
Cap on it.
I would suggest that
Yeah, we said so.
give me the opportunity to work with the superintendent to come up with some kind of a working mechanism so that the board also handles its fiduciary responsibility to the project while allowing the project to facilitate. And so, you know, we can work through some kind of a guideline and bring it back later as to, a worksheet as to what it would look like, so that the doctor is not in the field approving a $3 million change order.
No. It'd be within the 3% contingent.
And again, I always speak,
No, that's still $300,000.
That's
I don't
right.
think you want to do that.
I don't want to do that. I'm going to avoid it if at all possible. I want to put that in more FF&E, more stuff in the classrooms. I want to fill the classrooms full of new stuff, so.
we have to come, we'll come to an understanding as to any change order that causes a material change in the project by cost or by construction. And we just need to define what that material change is.
I agree. That's why anybody can pick a number, something reasonable.
Something reasonable that we
Because
can.
you don't want to hamstring, but at the same time, it can't be then be able to work against us.
Right, so we can work something out to give them that authority to do it.
Are you saying, Mark, that we vote for this now and then you and him work it out? Is that what you're
Well,
suggesting?
what we're voting for basically is the concept to give him the authority to make changes.
Right,
We're
work
in
out the
practice
parameters.
structure, if
And
you'd
then,
like.
and then we can work through,
Yeah.
you know, what that is. And that is often the way it's typically done anyway. There's got to be a point person in the field.
Sure.
There's got to be a point person in the field. I'm not really, you know, we're always accused of being top-heavy and we got way too many people and we're tipping over with too much staff and that sort of thing. But the reality is if you really consider what's happening here, our superintendent is our construction manager. That's what's upside down. Our superintendent should not be in the field in a suit and tie with a hard hat on, tiptoeing through the dirt in his wingtips, examining these kinds of things. But we don't have the budget, be it within a general fund to have someone on staff or to contract it out. So our superintendent is it, as much as I don't like that to be the case. He's our project manager. So a project manager needs to have authority to process change orders at some level or the project never gets done.
I don't disagree with you. So what are we voting on this?
So we're gonna vote to give him the authority,
And then you guys are going to work on.
and then we'll work through and you know, we'll bring something back
Protocol and bring it back to you.
that looks like something that everybody can live with, so that we actually get first say if there's something significant enough that has a material change in the project.
In the beginning, it's gonna come fast and furious here shortly. We're in the process of mobilization, and I mean, we're working every day on it, so you wouldn't want to meet daily to begin to kind of prove some of those authorizations once we get down to that point, so. Okay.
We'll set them.
Go Bronco.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, any other board comments? Call the question?
Aye.
11.3, professional service contract. Janet McKenna, archaeological, paleontological monitoring program services for the new Vasquez High School construction project. Do we have a move?
So,
Second?
Awesome. Second.
Dr. Woodard?
Janet or Janet?
It's
Well-
showing Janet on the
I call it Jeanette.
Jeanette.
Well, I got
Oh, Jeanette.
It's Jeanette.
Sorry.
It is okay. So if you'll see, this is a proposed value, in essence, $16,500. But again, it's at this is anticipated. It could be less. We did negotiate it down, as I told you. It's a couple $1,000s less than we had budgeted for. It's not significant, but it's enough to bring it to your attention. This is required. Part of, again, as they go through the construction piece as well as the grading, if in fact, they overturn an Indian pot or whatever.
Or dinosaur.
Yeah, so, you never know. But they are required to be there on site while they're grading and spend some time there.
You know what it'll be? It'll be a miner from 1895 that was murdered at the mine shaft and buried right along the side. And then we'll have a 3-year homicide investigation. They'll delay the project for about 20 years. I can see it now.
Actually, I think that occurred at the 49er Saloon, not at the mine.
Yeah, you never know. Okay, any discussion by the board? Call the question? Aye. 11.4, professional service agreement, DSA inspector, Stephen Pate, inspections, New Vasquez High School construction project. Do we have a move? Second? Mike first, and second.
Once again, I'd like to point out Stephen Pate is, we went through a pretty rigorous process. We vetted all of them. We went down, talked to each of them. We've seen their projects. We look at each of their recommendations and their, whether or not, their prices as well. And we did that quite some time ago. Now we're in the process of actually bringing them on. We won't bring them on until we're actually ready to start the project. Our original budget was in excess of $176,400. It was in the $180,000 range. So again, we're saving approximately, I think, $8,000 or $9,000. As a fact, we went back and renegotiated. We think it might be less. With the fact we have a DSA inspector at the plant, which is in Bakersfield, which unfortunately I'm going to have to go up there periodically and meet with that IOR, as well as here because of the piece and where they're going to be developing it. This is, I guess below where we currently projected, so we decided to go with Stephen Pate. We also think he's very, very competent. He's also worked for us before. We had a chance to, on the JCI concept that we wrapped up, if you'll remember. So we like him. He's a good guy, does his work, does a good job. And he's the cheapest that helped. Some of the other guys had some real high-tech stuff, we said, well, a good IOR is a done IOR. I don't want to pay $20,000 to see it on an iPad. I'd rather save $20,000.
Any discussion on the part of the board? Call the question? Aye. 11.5, professional services contract, Earth System, Southern California for the New Vasquez High School construction project. Do we have a move? Moved. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, real quickly again, this is another, again, you can see I'm gearing up to start. Earth Systems is a product, if you will, on your budget sheet that I gave you last time for special inspections. That includes concrete, dirt, steel, you name it. This Earth Systems will do the special inspections. Once again, if you remember, I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at it, we were looking at this particular value. We had budgeted for it. Under special inspections, the original value was in excess of $120,000. And of course, I'm looking at the contract now and I can't find the actual value, but it's
75.
75. I thought it was 78, but you might be right, Mark. It's in
Well,
70,000.
Yeah, we've got the special inspections, but we also have $3,500 for their septic design.
Yeah, the septic design was already complete. That was the environmental that we've already designed it. By the way, that was just recently reapproved through LA County Health.
Because that would make it 78.5 if you added those two, but
Maybe that's why I'm thinking 75.
that might be why you're thinking it, because it shows 75 for the special inspection.
But Earth Systems was the folks that have done our footings, that have done all of our work. They've been very responsive to Bruce Dick, and he's done a great job as well. Recommend that we hire him as our special inspector.
Discussion on the part of the board? Call question?
Aye.
Aye. Get closer. 11.6, amendment of facilities lease and construction provision with James Thompson of JTS Construction regarding Vasquez High School construction project. We have a move.
So moved.
Second?
Second. Okay, so this particular piece, of course, once we get the contract done, we have all of the documents that you'll see. And Mike, I got a bunch of signatures for you later, please. We took a look at it and obviously went out to the bonding company, and the bonding company is now requiring that we have some sort of limited liability language in there. The bonding company will not bond it unless we have this language in there, so the language has changed, and our legal has approved this and taken a look at it and actually helped write the language. Originally, our attorney said, no, we don't want it, we don't need it. It was more of, not that we don't want it, it's that we don't need it. The bonding company says, yes, you do, or we won't bond it. And what it means is, at the end, if they don't meet their deadline, there's penalties. Well, they want to put a limited liability on that to ensure that if in fact they get hamstrung with the whole project, that they're only on the hook for the value of the project, and there's limited liability associated with it. They don't want to be on the hook for all these material, like timeline penalties. And there's a cap on that. There's some language in there associated with that. That's the only way they'll want it, so we added it.
Any discussion on the part of the board? Call question?
Aye.
11.7, resolution 13-14.48, reducing or elimination of certificated employees for the 14-15 school year. Do we have a move? Mike is a move. Second?
Second.
Matt is a second.
Once again, we find ourselves in the unfortunate position to be considering layoffs. This is obviously, we've talked about this before, this is one of the worst parts of this job, and this in no way, in any way is something that we enjoy about this position. This is an unfortunate event of the fact that we are declining enrollment, we're losing people to attend our schools. There's obviously some material financials that go along with that. We just can't afford it. The bottom line is we have to ensure that we're much tighter in terms of builds on the master schedule. We have to ensure that all students obviously have a seat, but at the same time offer program. That's our next product, is making sure that we can take a look at all the program. I've had extensive conversations with a variety of people, and you can see obviously the predicament we're in with the county. This is really the only option we're left with. I've had detailed conversations with each of the board. We had a budget study session last week, and this is again the situation that we're in. But hopefully we can turn around that enrollment, and we can expand that, and then obviously do callbacks. But right now, my recommendation is that we go with the 15.8 FTE, and that does give us some sort of opportunity to hopefully make our 3% reserve next year, which is basically mandated. We have to make that 3% reserve next year. That's all I have.
More discussion? Anybody?
I'll comment. So this is my first time through the mill, and it's difficult to do. But one of the things I looked at is, right now we're 200,000 negative. We've got to get 200,000 positive. So there's 400,000 right there, rough numbers. And on top of that, enrollment is expected to decline. And so, that's how the math stacks up. And that's the environment we're in.
Have to make that work.
It took me a while to kind of figure that out. I think there's two different mechanisms creating a little storm here, and one is the fact that we're going from the negative the deficit position to a required positive position, and then compounding that is enrollment.
Yeah, it's always a compounding issue. Reduce funds and reduce enrollment is burning the candle at both ends.
As a service gone.
Any other discussion?
Just curious how it affects the other vote we had in reference to the Spanish class.
Doesn't impact it at all, Mr. Layton.
Doesn't.
Does not.
In terms of the revised strategy, is that what you're talking about?
We will still be able to deliver what I described.
Okay.
And welcome, Mike, to the annual slaughter, if you will, where we go through this every year. It's not just us. School districts across the state do it, and we're mandated to do it by March 15th, even if we're not completely sure what our budget's going to be. Since the state mandates that we do it before they even provide us hard numbers. Hence, we go through this every year with the hope that we bring some back.
This is exacerbated a little bit by the closing of, I would go say, if you will, the consolidation and transformation.
That's true. That plays
So,
over
but,
as well.
The welcome, Mike, to this. This is how I got welcomed in about 6 years ago. The board member that took me to a meeting in Lancaster to go over what was about to happen. The terrible part now is it's a lot worse tonight than it was 6 years ago when I went there, because I believe the intent of the law to give pink slips to people that you may or may not intend to really get rid of is so the teachers have an opportunity to know that they're not going to have a job, so they can go look for one somewhere else. Only right now there's nowhere else to look. Now in the old days, before it was as bad as it is tonight, we could lose good teachers because we would give them a pink slip and they'd start shopping and they might find a good job in Santa Clarita someplace. But that was the law to protect them, the teachers. Whether it did or not, that's another opinion. But now it's a whole new ballgame. It's not just giving them the opportunity to go get another job if they want one, if there was one. It's that we're going broke. That we went to what I talked about 2 or 3 board meetings ago, we should not even consider being qualified. And here and now, we hopscotched, like a frog hopping, from qualified to negative. And we've got somebody else sitting in the back of the room to help us get back to positive from LACO. And we're not the only district. It's all over like this. No, it's not pleasant.
With that, call the question.
Aye.
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 11.8, CSBA Delegate Assembly Election 2014. Do we have a move?
Move.
Second?
Mike.
This is, did we get a second? I'm sorry.
Yes, Mike.
We did.
So this is the.
It was actually.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm keeping.
This is obviously from CSBA. We had talked about, this almost every time. I'm not going to assume that you guys don't want to do it this year, but again, we haven't had one in a while. We do want to have a delegate in. Okay, we've been talking about that, but et cetera. What this is for you to vote for one of these folks.
Right. It's not for us to send
So,
somebody.
no. Yeah, maybe I can. What I'm saying is, we talked about where none of you guys want to run, but now you're going to have an opportunity to vote for one of these folks.
3 of you.
Well, there's 5.
Don't we vote for 3 of 5?
Yes.
We vote for 3,
That's
there's
right,
5,
sorry.
there's 5 running.
Yeah, there's 5 candidates, you vote for 3.
Well, we don't even know anything about these people.
Oh, yeah, we do. Some of us do.
Some of you do.
Which one?
It's in the Dropbox. It's
You
all-
got resumes from them.
all the
Well, I know, but
applications.
it doesn't say much about how they will.
I think Mark knows some of them. I know of some of them. I would, for my 2 cents worth, I would like to see us vote for Gwendolyn Farrell from West Side and Donita Wynn from AV Union. And the others, I mean, I'd like to hear, anybody else have somebody else?
I mean, I have no opposition to that, I just don't see how, I've never seen it articulated in what way they would defend something that's beneficial to us. So I probably just, I agree with you, you know?
I probably shouldn't say this, but since when, why be politically correct now? I don't know how much CSBA actually ever represents truly what our interests are in regard to what we're doing. But having said that, I concur with Larry. If for no other reason than the 2 names he mentioned demonstrated years worth of ongoing effort and time, especially Gwendolyn Farrell, has been working the region ever since I've been a board member.
You can vote up to 3, you can say
So,
1 or 2, or...
If we feel we're comfortable in voting, we can. Nothing mandates that we have to.
Right, that's what I meant by that.
Yeah, well, I think we should, and those 2, I think we should for sure. And as to Diane Grooms, she's, as far as I've been following her a little bit, getting very involved in the district. I'm not saying this just because these 3 are from our area, and I'm not trying to say anything as bad about the Savas or Christy Smith from Newhall. But I would be happy with those 2, plus even going with Diane Grooms unless the board feels there's a 3rd one that they would rather go with.
You're from Lancaster?
Yeah. If you've gone to any of the CSBA, is it CSBA? The meetings in Lancaster, where we have the rubber chicken.
Yeah.
Those are our local,
All 3 of those happen to be from our locals.
those are our local.
Yeah, that's a local job.
Right.
Well, we'll find out what anybody's interested in. I will move to packet Gwendolyn Farrell, Diane Grooms, and Donita Wynn.
I'd second if that's a move.
That would be my move. We have a second. We'll go ahead and call for a vote on it and see if we get 3 votes. Call the question?
Aye.
Aye. We're good?
Mike, you go.
Aye.
That's great.
Future agenda items, we have our traffic study at Metal Art, and our running early start of school year discussion. Anything else on future agenda? Did our developer fees drop from that, or did we ever have?
Actually, what I'm doing is I'm in the process, I am looking at...
Are we even in the right year cycle?
What's that?
Are we even in the right year cycle?
Well, I'm looking at, put out some RFPs for several companies to determine where we're at and whether or not it's feasible. And I did determine that we can't pay for that out of bond proceeds, so there will be nothing taken out of general fund. That's approximately $10,000 to $12,000.
It's very worthwhile.
Yeah, we did get it for as low as 5, but that's when we did both the developer 1 and developer 2 study, and we paid 5 for each.
Yeah.
But that company had also done our long-range planning master plan study, so I think there was a built-in discount there.
I put out RFPs to 5 companies.
Okay, so hopefully it would be less than 10, but you're right, it could be.
I'm giving you,
that
what
high.
I've seen in the past.
It
Well,
could-
wasn't there also less than satisfactory services by the one that you're speaking of?
In regard, In regard to the master plan study, we did have some issues, yes. In regard to the developer fee, level 1 and 2 studies, no. But in the master plan study, yes. Anything for future calendar?
So Mark, I'm sorry, do you want to put that on there, or you just?
We can, I already got
He's
direction.
already,
moving on
he's
it.
already working on it,
That's
so.
fine.
And there's no sense having a trail. I've lost track as to whether, it's only every other year.
Yeah, that's
Qualify
what,
to do it. And I don't know if we're on an odd year or not.
I'm having folks assess that and to tell me whether or not we're eligible for 1, 2, 3, what we're gonna do, you know.
Well,
Remember, we have.
now that we've passed the bond, I don't know that we can do 2 anymore.
I don't think so either.
But we can always do 1.
Yeah,
But then it's only every other year.
yeah.
Remember, within the next 18 months, we have 35 very high square footage homes coming in.
That's what I mean, if I don't do it this year, then I'll just kick it to next year. Whatever the case is, we'll get it in.
As soon as possible,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. I'm in the middle of doing that now, Mr. Board.
Any discussion on 13.0 calendar? There it is. Then we'll move to 14.0 closed session. .1, action taken in closed session. I was not present for closed session. For the record, there were 4 board members that were, and a vote was taken in closed session that was 4-0 as to a non-reelect of 2 employees and 1 administrator at Agua Dulce School, which is directly related to the conversion of the school to a charter. 15.0 adjournment, 15.1 regular meeting of trustees adjournment. Do we have a move?
So moved.
Second? Second. We'll call it at 9:09. We're adjourned.
Mike, I have a load for you to sign. Okay. It's, you know, you might need to take a seat.